Hello, Chair Brooks. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Good to see you. I'm excited for this meeting. It's a good agenda put together, huh?
Unfortunately, a couple of changes, but yes, a good agenda. Seems like there's always something.
I gotta say, ANC, it's a fun role
Yes.
have the opportunity to have here.
Yes.
What's going on, peeps?
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Tired.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, it's an energizing meeting that we have, so it's always energizing when we're together, I think.
So
Yeah.
I will acknowledge that I have a particular interest in a playoff basketball game this evening.
Oh, well, we both have, we share the same interests.
So
We share the same interests.
I am a huge basketball fan. If you don't know that by now. And
Is that
football.
is that the change in the agenda? We're gonna
Yeah, the change in the
together?
agenda is regular updates on the score.
Mhm. I know you're not rooting for the Lakers, are you?
Not
Huh?
exactly.
See, it's either a yes or no, Alice.
My husband is a Lakers fan.
Oh boy.
Been married a long time, Zurich. I have to not outwardly promote the loss of the Lakers, but you know,
Lord.
my feelings would not be hurt
Okay.
if Denver wins.
Okay. Good. I can live with that answer. I haven't been able to get in touch with Michael yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully in 2 minutes he'll be on this call. Oh, Aaron is here. So we were talking and I wasn't even like looking at who to promote. Aaron wants to be a part of the fun.
I don't like being left out of the basketball discussion.
Well, all I know is that you better not be rooting for the Lakers.
Well, thankfully I am unaffiliated. So
Are you a Denver fan, Zurich, or you are not a Lakers fan?
I'm an anti-Lakers fan.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. I still can't get over the bad boy Pistons. I love them still.
You're going way back.
Am I showing my age?
We'll say no because I know the reference. So, so we don't want to admit to that. Okay, so we're waiting on a couple of more commissioners, 3 to be exact, maybe 4.
Evan is here if you haven't seen him already.
Okay, so to everyone that's on the call, we're going to wait just a minute or two and in the hopes of having the rest of the commissioners join us. And then we'll get started.
Allison, you want to make me a co-host so I can help you out? I'm curious what the reference was now. I just came into that part, the end of it. Now I want to know.
So
Can't know. Too late.
you have to be of a certain age to have watched the Bad Boy Pistons. And so therefore, we won't discuss it any further because I've been in that age group.
You do know Isaiah Thomas, not the
first one.
Yes.
The first Isaiah Thomas.
The first Isaiah
Yes.
Thomas.
Okay.
Yes, he was on that team.
Let's not talk about it anymore. I feel like I'm old now. Y'all just ruined it. Come on.
I see Michael Cohen in the.
I promoted him already.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just gonna take a second. I'm watching to see if it comes up. Because it told me that he was promoted, but I haven't seen him. There he goes.
Hmm.
There he is.
Good evening. I was waiting for you to take yourself off of mute. I thought you were gonna say hello.
Hey
Welcome.
everyone.
Hi.
Did you check your email? The
No,
last email I sent?
no.
Check it for me.
Allison, I see Tiffany just joined as well.
Mhm. And that was the last person that I'm waiting for. So I think we can get started when she's actually on screen. 6, 7. Okay. Okay. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. Let me pull up my agenda and make sure I'm ready to go. We have a few commissioners that cannot join this evening. So I believe there's maybe one more commissioner that's coming, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and call the meeting to order and we can start with the roll call.
Oh, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. You want to take
All
it
right.
away?
Commissioner Colson, 4B01.
She's not going to be here tonight.
Commissioner Palmer, 4B02.
Present.
Commissioner Smith, 4B03.
Present.
Commissioner Yates, 4B04.
Present.
Commissioner Gilligan, 4B05 present. Commissioner Johnson, 4B06. And I see she's present. Commissioner Cohen, 4B07.
Present.
Commissioner Walker, 4B09.
Skip me.
Not present. Oh, sorry. Yep. Commissioner Brooks, 4B08.
Present.
Commissioner Walker, 4B09.
She's not able to attend.
And Commissioner Hess, 4B10.
I've not heard from her, so she might be joining us later, but she's not here currently.
All right.
So with that, we'll jump right into the same instructions that we normally provide at every meeting, which is that we ask people to use the raise their hand function on Zoom. And if you're on the phone, to please use *9. In addition, I'm going to add that I'm not going to acknowledge residents that are not using their name. So right now I see one resident just says Tacoma resident. I need to have a name in order to ensure that you're a valid individual and not a spammer. So I hope you can respectfully understand that. With that, we can move on to the next item, which would be consideration and approval of the agenda. As I mentioned, while we were waiting for everyone, unfortunately, there are a couple of changes to the agenda that I need to point out. One of which is a presentation by Ariana Gard. Unfortunately, Dr. Gard has COVID and is not able to present. She's asked that she wait until that we allow her to present in June, which of course we will accommodate. Next, are there any other agenda item changes before we vote on the agenda as it exists currently? Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Hi, I'd like
Hi.
to remove from the agenda, oh, but I just forgot to pull up my agenda items. The agenda item for the educating DC government. I can't remember what it's called right now. My apologies.
Hold on a second, I'm looking for it and I'll tell you. Okay, here it is. It's item number 9, resolution
Yes.
230503, calling for greater education, oversight, and accountability of district government adherence to the District of Columbia Human Rights Act.
Correct. I'd like to remove that from the agenda.
Okay, done. Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Then I will make a motion to approve I'm sorry, Commissioner Smith, is your hand up?
Yes,
Okay.
I can't bring up the agenda. I don't have it in front of me, but is, of course, Michael and I are,
You have item number 10, a letter requesting additional information related to the pre-implementation, execution, and follow-up of lead service line replacement work performed by DC Water.
yes. I know Michael and I have some ideas and have some thoughts and put this letter together. I know someone outside of the commission would like to speak with both me and Michael regarding, I have an idea that he is in support of it, as Michael suggested, but I really want to make sure that we have enough support moving forward, and particularly enough support for the commission as well. So Michael, I'm not sure what you want to do. I'm thinking about possibly tabling it to the next planning meeting to make sure that we have that everyone is aligned and is on the same page. You can let me know what your thoughts are, and then we can decide whether or not we want to move forward or take it off the agenda.
Yeah, I think we've done our due diligence on this one. I mean, I think that if we do submit it, it will only help with future conversations. So my thinking is we leave it on the agenda, and address in the future if we need to.
Okay.
All right,
All right, we'll do that.
okay.
All right.
Then I make a motion to submit the agenda as amended by removing Dr. Guard's presentation and removing item number 9, which is the resolution 4B230503. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone. All right, thank you for that. Next on the list would be the approval of the April 2023 regular public meeting minutes. I believe everybody received those minutes. Does anyone have any question or concern with regard to them? And if you didn't receive them, then you can tell me that, but I am assuming you have actually received them. Okay. Hearing no objection, is there a?
I move to approve the regular public meeting minutes from April 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's everyone. Okay, so with that, we will go straight into commissioner updates. Let's start with 4B02. Any updates?
Yes, I'm not used to going first since Commissioner Colson isn't here. I'll be quick, but there are several single member district related events coming up, including my office hours, which are this Thursday, May 25th at 5 p.m. This Friday, I'm hosting 2 neighborhood block walks with several DC government agencies. The first is in coordination with Commissioner Colson because it overlaps both of our areas and will be from 9:45 to 10:45 a.m. on Friday, walking Butternut, 9th, Elder, and Georgia. The second will be 11 a.m. to noon, walking Underwood, 9th, Tewksbury, and 8th. Another upcoming event is a Tacoma Pride Community Cleanup that Commissioner Yates and I are hosting on May 28th at 9 a.m., starting at Tacoma Elementary School. And then my single member district monthly cleanup will take place on June 3rd at 10 a.m., starting at Van Buren and Piney Branch by the Safeway. Thank you.
4B03. Are you on mute? Are you talking?
Okay, no further, nothing for me
Okay.
this time.
4B04.
Yes, I, along with Commissioner Palmer, will be hosting a walkthrough of the proposed Tacoma Metro Station development site. That's June 7th at 5 p.m. At the Tacoma Metro Station parking lot.
Thank you. 4B05.
No updates from me other than to say thank you to Commissioner Palmer and neighbor Elson Horn for coming to the cleanup on Saturday. That went really well. So thank you. And I don't think I have anything else right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
4B06.
Just wanted to say thank you for the residents that came out this Saturday for a special single member district meeting to discuss some traffic safety and parking issues. And also extend gratitude to Karen Dresden for her years of service at Capital City Public Charter School.
Thank you. 4B07.
Just wanted to say thank you to the folks that came out to our meet and greet that we did over this past weekend at the Triangle Park. Also, tomorrow I'll be doing a walk with our moker, Sophia Tacola, midday through the Lamont community. And I have my newsletter coming out in 2 weeks for June.
Okay, so I guess I get to close it out today. I have a few updates, which include tomorrow morning's walk with the Department of Buildings, which is formerly DCRA, will be on Kennedy Street to look at some of the projects that are going on there. And I have several requests with DDOT that we've heard back on. I'm expecting a notice of intent any day now for the 3rd Street corridor between South Dakota Avenue and Chilton Place. That I think that we would be in support of because they're the changes that we've been pushing for along 3rd Street, but I need to see the actual NOI before I can say that. And then in addition to that, there is currently an NOI for the proposed cycle track on Riggs Road that is out now. We still need to talk about that as well. There are many residents with many questions with regard to that. And so we'll hopefully be putting out some response to that in the near future. Okay, with that, I'll jump back into the chair's role and indicate now is the time for community concerns. You can use the raise your hands function or *9 if you're interested in speaking. You'll have 1 minute and I will have a little handy dandy timer right here. Let me get that out and we can go from there. And Commissioner Yates, I'll promote and you'll take down. Okay. All right, Commissioner Johnson, you'll be next. Okay, Commissioner Johnson, the floor is yours. And I'm gonna
I
start
love
the
that,
timer.
Commissioner. Okay, now wait a minute, it's not working.
You're still
Oh,
entitled to your title.
okay, I can't take the thing off.
Well, we
Okay,
can hear you. We just
you
can't see
can't?
you. We
You cannot
can.
hear me?
We can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, oh, thank
There
you.
you
Hey,
go.
y'all. Hi. Okay, I really just wanted to ask, say hi to everybody and ask Commissioner Palmer a question. I am happy about the litter and rat meeting walk on Friday, but I do have a question to ask. Would by some chance, Scott Knickerbocker sent me the flyer, and I know you have some the participants on it, but I was kind of hoping that maybe you forgot to put DPW/sanitation on this
Yes.
flyer.
Yes,
gonna be there?
they are listed on the flyer and they will be there.
That's good because you do all of this work on Friday and then Monday after trash pickup, they litter it. It's like nothing ever happened. And
Yep.
that's where
They will be there and I'll follow up to make sure because I expect them to be there and I think they're an important partner.
yes, absolutely. Okay,
Thank
thank you. Okay, thanks a lot.
All right,
Bye.
well, thank you.
Bye.
I don't see, oh. Elevate Commissioner Knickerbocker. All right, Commissioner Knickerbocker, you're next. You're muted. There you go.
Okay, apologies.
No problem.
Good evening, everyone. I do want to say that I don't think a lot of the problem is DPW in our alley with the rats. Because I think if it was DPW's problem or their fault that we would only have rats on Monday, we wouldn't have rats all week. It quite frankly, it's how certain neighbors care for their trash and the feast that they provide it. Because I'll be quite frank with you, I'm very diligent with our trash, and we don't have rats invading our cans and whatnot. So I think that DPW's their responsibility in this lies in really an education with the residents and teaching residents how to really care for their trash bins, as opposed to any sort of returning to clean up alleys and stuff like that. So hopefully the walk on Friday will be beneficial in teaching some residents how to care for their trash bins. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Christine. Okay, Christine Lopez.
Hi, I just wanted to share a couple of quick updates on behalf of the Upper Georgia Avenue Main Street. We are a nonprofit and one of DC's main streets that operates partially in ANC 4B. This Thursday, May 25th, from 6 to 8, we have a craft night and meet and greet at the Shepherd Park Library with Mary Pin, a craft store, community space, and coffee shop that is hoping to come to the neighborhood. So there will be snacks, you can do crafts, get to know the owners, ask questions about the business. And then next Thursday, June 1st, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Zoom, the Main Street will be kicking off a commemorative works project where there will be commemorative work art in some form in Ward 4. So to sign up for and get more information on both of those, you can visit uppergeorgiaavenue.org.
Great, thank you. With 3 seconds to spare. Much appreciated. Okay, so do I see any other hands? I do not see any other hands raised. So we will move on. I don't think there are any questions in the chat. Okay.
No, Chair.
Thank you. So with that, we will hear from Sophia Tacola from the Mayor's Office on Community Relations and Services. I will elevate her next. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Commissioner Cohen, happy early birthday. You don't have to come back on the screen. You're good. I just wanted to say happy early birthday, and I see both you and Commissioner Brooks tomorrow, different meetings. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the mayor's liaison for this part of Ward 4. Great way to contact me is through email. That's Sophia, SOPHIA.TEKOLA@dc.gov. And then my phone number 202-436-2087. Tuesdays and Fridays, I walk around the community, not just with commissioners, but with everybody in the community. And so if you are ever interested in having one of those meet and greets, or you want to show me what's going on in your street, definitely feel free to reach out, and I would love to do that with you. So a few things have been happening, and so wanted to make sure that everybody was in the know. Recently, Mayor Bowser put out the statement that she believes that DC Council should not break for summer recess until giving serious consideration to these 8 ideas. And so I'm going to read them here. Number 1 is stiffen penalties for illegal gun possession. 2, keep violent career criminals in jail pending trials. 3, make it easier to hold dangerous juveniles in detention. 4, make strangulation a type of felony assault. 5, use ankle monitoring data better to combat crime. 6, give judges more discretion to keep criminals behind bars. 7, strengthen punishments for violent crimes on public transit. And 8, use metrics better. In addition to that, we have the new interim police chief, is interim chief Sean Benedict, who will be starting in June. So that is definitely coming up. In addition, for public safety, I know on our agenda, we have Metropolitan Police Department who will be speaking soon. And so it's a great reminder that when we have things like gunshots and homicides and all those awful things that have been happening in our community, please relay questions or concerns to robert.hamrick@dc.gov, as well as going out to our Sector 1 meetings. In addition to that, we have an effective immediately a new order about public safety. And this order went after the Public Safety Summit. And so after I'm done talking, I'm going to send in all of our links where you can read about that in great detail, so I don't take up your time here. And then coming up this week, or on May 31st, to be specific, we have the Senior Fest. And so this is a wonderful time for all the seniors throughout all 8 wards to come together. And right now I've been working on trying to make sure that we have transportation for all of our seniors in Ward 4. And the Senior Fest will be Wednesday, May 31st at the Gateway Pavilion. And I will put all the extra details into the chat as well. And then, as many of you know, Mayor Bowser spoke to Congress this past week. I definitely invite all of you to take a listen. Some of it was definitely frustrating for how Congress treats us, but then also if you do not have time to sit for, I believe it's like a 2.5-hour meeting, there's the sub clips on Mayor Bowser's Twitter, as well as she talked on the political hour with Kojo. And so that gives a nice summary of everything that was talked about as well. And finally, we have Mayor Bowser, due to climate change and how hot it's getting, we have quite a bit of spray parks opening. And so this is a reminder that you can always come to the spray parks and the pools that are being open right now, but definitely advise signing up online to fill out the waiver and all of that stuff, so you don't have to get there with your kids and wait in line. But yeah, so open the floor to any questions, and definitely, hopefully we will see you out there with all the fun things that all the families can do this summer.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions? Okay, I saw Commissioner Gilligan first. Don't know if he was first, but I saw him. So.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the mayor's public safety measures that she's proposed to strengthen, and just if there's any sort of literature or just background info that informed those proposals, so I can understand kind of the where she's coming up with the proposals to better understand.
Absolutely. And so on our crime cards, and I can link all of that after I'm done speaking into here, it shows you can look by ward, by demographic, by a person committing crimes one after another, whether they are on parole and different things like that. And so that's where a lot of the information's coming from, where we're looking at. I know one of the things talks about ankle monitoring. And so that's where a lot of those concerns are coming from, or with stiffening penalties for illegal gun possession. As you know, DC actually has pretty strict gun laws. And so I know MBD will probably talk a lot about it, but we definitely have such an uptick in ghost guns, where it's not just our people coming and taking guns from Maryland or Virginia, or Maryland and Virginia, or North Carolina or Georgia are bringing guns from there, but they're making the guns themselves or adding on to guns. And so stiffening penalties for things like that is the request we're making for council before going on a break, to really strengthen everything happening, because we don't want it to be summers when crime goes up the most and people do not have consequences, which may add to the added crime.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Yates, I saw your hand second.
Yeah, I had two questions if I could. One is this was something that occurred to me before, and so I tried to look into it. In the bullet points of the things the mayor is asking of the council, it's use metrics better. And I guess I'm confused how the council would improve the use of metrics, because policing is like an executive function. And as far as I know, our police department is pretty stats and metrics division. So what is MPD not doing now that the mayor thinks should be done to use metrics better? And then my second question is about school funding. The council restored a lot of the funding cuts, including to Tacoma Elementary School in our neighborhood. Almost $700,000 got put back in the budget. Is the mayor going to make sure that money gets to schools promptly so that they don't have to cut staff? I know my son came home from school and told me that like his theater teacher, his favorite teacher at the school, got fired, wasn't going to be back next year. And now there's money in the budget for the teacher. So are we going to make sure that those teachers get their positions back?
Yeah. So for the first question, what I was saying here, this was specifically to DC Council. It wasn't to MPD. When we're talking about metrics, that was specifically to DC Council. And then when it comes to people losing their jobs, I wasn't in the rooms. I don't know why people were losing their jobs, unfortunately. But I do know that Mayor Bowser, her daughter goes to public schools. She's here for our DC schools and definitely cares about them for sure.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, I wanted to just very quickly raise two neighborhood issues, which is that I'm continuing to receive questions about the Tacoma Rec Center weight room and when that will open. And we've gotten some assurances that it will open at some time, but some additional detail on that would be helpful. Also, we've done a lot of work on public trash cans, and we had some cans recently reinstalled. And we followed up just to ensure regular collection, and we're told that pickup is supposed to occur daily, but that doesn't really seem to happen. So I take that as a resource issue, but just want to flag that we like the trash cans, we want them, and we want regular collection of them.
Absolutely. No, I definitely remember from our walk, that was one of our first conversations where there's so many trash cans that were taken. And so, well, I'm glad to hear that they're back, and I can follow up with DPW to make sure that we're doing regular pickups. With Tacoma weight room, I can go back. I saw, I believe it was either Commissioner Palmer or Commissioner Cohen who had talked about the solar panels on Tacoma. I did see that tweet. And so I definitely was emailing DPR about it. And then do you have the liaison for Ward 4 DPR?
I believe so.
Okay, I can add you to the email chain to show what we're talking about there. Just sort of have a better understanding of what's happening at the weight room as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Of course.
I had planned to bring this up tomorrow, but since we're all on the call today, there is a particular problem with dumping along First Street Northeast and in the alley behind First Street Northeast. And I think some of that is that people are trifling, but I think part of that is the Fort Totten transfer station is closed, and then they go look for places nearby afterwards to dump things. And that area is a good area to do that. So I'm wondering, one, will the Fort Totten transfer station be opening on time? And then two, what can we do? I mean, I know there are things like dump busters and all of that, but they're in high demand, and you know, I don't know what else to do, but we have people that just throw couches into the middle of intersections and drive off. So like it's a serious problem, because in the dark, someone's going to drive into a couch and not expect that.
Yeah, that's been happening for a while. I remember that was one of our very first phone calls was about that.
Yep.
But I do
and since that time, there have been 4 more couches since that first call.
Yeah. So I know that similarly, in ANC 4C, they've been having an issue with a bunch of couches and Commissioner Kirby's alleyway as well. And so DPW has been adding that alleyway weekly to make sure and going back there and checking. And I know we've talked about it, but I can remind them to make sure that we're doing that. But I also like the idea of having one of those giant orange receptacles where the Fort Trotton transfer station is, to see if possibly I would definitely have to reach out to Lance, who is my liaison partner over at DPW, to see if that is possible.
I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. And then would you like to be CC'd on that email?
Sure.
Okay. Wonderful. Anything else?
I don't see any other hands raised. I don't have anything else.
Awesome. Thank you all. I will add all the links about the orders and then the crime stats as well below now. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm going to now elevate Barbara Rogers from Councilwoman Lewis George's office. She has spent the day under the weather, but has joined us briefly and unfortunately cannot stay as a result on the full meeting. So let's have her promoted, and then we'll excuse her after that, allow her to get some rest. So Ms. Rogers, I believe that I attempted to promote you. I think you have to accept it. Okay. There you go.
Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
I can hear you.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Hi, 4B.
Hello.
My favorite commission.
I wonder why.
I just have a few updates, as Allison said. I don't know if you all can see, but I've been at Georgetown Emergency Room for the past 6 hours, but I am okay. So I'm just going to give in a little pain, but I will give just a few updates. Most of you all know we have started our Ward 4 Care Days. And we have one under the belt. We just did Manor Park, which was a big success. Care Days is actually, these are community outreach days that take place in every Ward 4 neighborhood, where we do door knocking, outreach to check on neighbors. We hold resource fairs with DC agencies and community resources. We support with constituent service and bring our community closer together. Neighbors do not need to attend our events to participate in Care Days. We, of course, encourage residents to do their own Care Days with activities such as hosting a neighborhood cleanup, submitting a 311 request, planning a block party, which we'll talk about a little later, coordinating a food drive, or just meeting a new neighbor for the first time and making them feel connected to our community. We want to give a special thanks to all of those that participated in the Manor Park Care Day. We have a special thanks to our commissioners, Commissioner Gilligan, Cohen, and Johnson, for joining our first Care Day. We enjoyed being in the community with you all, and we are working to follow up on some of the issues that were identified at that Care Day. I am happy to put the link in the chat, but for more information on the remaining Care Days, you can go to www.janiceward4.com/care. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the budget. Councilmember Lewis George has been working with her colleagues to reverse some harmful cuts to the DC budget and make new investments in our community. As of this week, the council was able to reverse many of the cuts that were proposed in the original budget to DC's safety net and other critical programs that DC residents rely on. Funding for emergency rental assistance, which faced an 80% cut next year, has been fully restored to 43 million. We also restored funding for victim services, legal aids that help prevent evictions and residents who are denied benefits, and housing vouchers to prevent homelessness. Many of our DC public schools were also facing cuts next year, despite having a similar or increased enrollment. The revised budget prevents budget cuts for any DC public school. Together with Councilmember Allen, we also restored 58 million in funding to implement the Safe Routes to School Act, which will make traffic safety upgrades at every DC public school. And the budget includes funding to acquire land and build a new public library on Kennedy Street, while also keeping the Juanita E. Thornton Shepherd Park Library open to our community. There's still more work that we need to do, but this is a huge step forward for bringing a new public library to our community. So thank you to all of the ANC commissioners and neighbors who testified at the hearing, emailed the council, and advocated for this to happen. Councilmember Louis George will keep working with our colleagues to meet other unmet needs in the budget before the final vote. And as I mentioned before, block party. The council member is very, she feels strongly about getting as many streets to do block parties over the summer. This Thursday, we will be hosting how to organize a block party training. And it'll be a Zoom meeting, and it's at 6 p.m. again, Thursday, May 25th. And we will have a DDOT representative that will go over all the forms that are needed, how long it takes, and the steps that you need to take to have a successful block party. The commissioners, you'll be receiving an email from me shortly asking you to share this information, of course, with your constituents.
Ms. Rogers.
I know. And finally, our newsletter. You can always sign up for our newsletter at www.ward4news.com. That's all I have. Thank you all.
I have a specific question about a block party, and that is that typically to have a block party, you have to have residents sign off so that you can close the street. But we often want to have a block party on a street that doesn't have any houses. It's just park space. So we need to know how to arrange that. So if you can give that question to DDOT in advance so that they're prepared to answer it in the training, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay.
So you said it's not on a street where there are no houses.
On the street. They're the backs of houses that actually are on another street, that face the street. And then across the street is National Park Service land. So there are no houses to knock doors. Which makes it ideal actually for the block party because it's not inconveniencing anyone, but we would still need to close the street.
Exactly. Okay, I will send that email.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, hey Barbara, how you doing?
Hello.
Just a quick question. I know that the mayor pressed the council to vote on the legislation, her crime bill, before summer recess comes in 6 weeks. But apparently the chairman said it would be difficult. What's our council members' position on that, given what seems to be a sense of urgency here?
Yeah, I think the council members will actually meet on that to kind of get a consensus on how they're going to move forward in responding to the mayor.
Okay, any other questions? No?
Get well soon, Barbara.
Thank you so much. It's weird. I did it by mowing my grass, which is crazy, but anyway,
All right,
thank you all.
you're welcome. Feel better soon.
Thanks.
Okay, commissioners, apparently Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson had a question, former Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson had a question for Sophia Tacola and wasn't able to use the raise her hand feature. So I'm gonna just allow her to talk, but if you could promote, excuse me, Ms. Tacola, I'm gonna promote you again so that you can answer the question. And then we'll move on. I also don't see, just to prepare, I don't see Fraser or O'Leary on the call. I also don't see MPD. So if either of them are on the call and I don't recognize their label, please let me know so that I can promote you next. And then let me find Jocelyn. All right, Ms. Johnson, make it quick.
Oh, hi, I'm Miss Sophia. I asked last month and I don't understand why I'm not hearing the mayor say anything about the forensic lab and her efforts to try to get the forensic lab back in the city. And with all the crime problems, I'm not understanding why that's not being talked about.
Well, so Mayor Bowser has spoken on it about a great length, whether it was at the Public Safety Summit. She also talked on Kojo about it. I can send the links in the chat about it, but she's definitely wanting it to be open. When something loses its accreditation, they have to go through a process to get it back. So they are working on getting the accreditation back, and she wants it back.
Because it's not one of your 8 items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think I shouldn't give my opinion, but it is wanted back. And so the forensic, they're going through their accreditation to get back. They actually just got an interim director as well. So things are in the works.
Thank you. I'll ask again like this one.
Absolutely, but I can send the links of what she talked about specifically in getting it back and some of the things that have happened, like getting the interim director for the forensic.
Thank
you. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. All right, again, I don't see a representative from MPD and I don't see Fraser O'Leary. So with that, we'll move to the Housing Justice Committee update.
Yes, thank you so much. Just a brief recap of our last meeting. We met on May 3rd and had a presentation and discussion with Morgan Baskin, an investigative reporter on her work on the DC Housing Authority. We also had a presentation and discussion about a proposed map amendment for 7709 Georgia Ave Northwest, which is in single member district 4B01. For a 155 unit affordable assisted living community. And we had a presentation and discussion with a commissioner from Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3C about historic districts and racial impact analysis, which informed an agenda item we will be discussing later. The committee's next meeting is Wednesday, June 7th at 7. We will have an additional presentation in addition to tonight from EYA regarding the Tacoma Metro development, focused specifically on the affordable housing component. The District Department of Housing and Community Development is also invited to speak about a potential tax abatement for high needs areas, which would increase the affordable housing provided under the proposal. And we will also have a discussion with the Office of the Attorney General's land use lawyers about map amendments and planned unit developments and the role of ANCs and how they can use those to push for more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, next we will go to Vision Zero. Commissioner Yates, if you could give an update, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. We last met Wednesday, the 17th. We were joined by the audit team from the Office of the District of Columbia Auditor to present on their audit of the district's Vision Zero program. We had a pretty strong back and forth on that. This was, of course, I should note that it was part one of their audit that they presented on, which is on DDOT and engineering solutions. They're currently working on part two, which is enforcement, the enforcement part of the Vision Zero thing, which influenced tonight's letter on heavy trucks. We are going to meet next on, let me pull up the date real quick, on Wednesday, June 21st, but the agenda has not been set yet.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Johnson, can you provide a Community Safety and Support Committee update?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. We had a great meeting last Thursday, the 18th, where we focused on discussions around SROs in schools, as well as officer hiring and retention policies and best practices. We are having a planning meeting to discuss possible resolutions related to those two topics. And our next meeting is scheduled for June 15th at 7 p.m. and that will be noticed accordingly.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we can move into the presentations. Our first presentation is from the Department of Aging and Community Living. Mark, I will promote you next. Mark, are you there?
I think I am.
I can
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. I don't know what happened.
I don't see a video link here.
This is the oddest thing I've ever seen. Let's see what I can do. Also, while I'm trying to figure that out, is Interim Director Hines participating as a agency representative or as a resident? Because I see she's on the call.
Well, I think she's probably there in a way that she should probably describe herself.
Okay. If you want to participate as a panelist, Director, please use the raise your hand function so I know to promote you. Meanwhile,
Allison, I think what happened with Mark is he was listed as talking permitted and not as a panelist. So I just promoted him to a panelist and he should be good to go.
All right, thanks. Okay. All right, there you go.
Good evening. How is everyone? Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Let me go ahead and...
You should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, I know. I'm just seeing you on both screens at this point. So, like this. And then...
Let me know if it's easier for me to share my screen while you present.
I think I have it. Are you able to see that?
Let me see. Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So my name is Mark Bjorgi, and I work within the Department of Aging and Community Living, formerly known as the DC Office on Aging. And I would like to give you a general overview of our agency this evening. It will probably take almost all 10 minutes, but I'll try and keep it short and move a little bit on the quick side. So the Department of Aging and Community Living serves as the district's state unit on aging and also an area aging authority. So it has both state and local functions. We advocate, plan, and implement and monitor programs in health, education, social services, etc. And we do this mostly, we provide our services mostly through community partnerships. We're primarily a grantee agency. So we have about 30 different community-based organizations that we work with. And with them, we deliver about 40 different programs. I won't be able to go through all of the programs, but I'd like to hit on some of the highlights. So we serve adults who are 60 and over, hence the aging part of Department of Aging and Community Living. We also serve adults who are 18 and over, but who have disabilities. And then adults at risk of abuse or exploitation. We recently took that on from Department of Health in the Adult Protective Services Division that we now house. And lastly, we serve caregivers. And usually caregivers are community members or family members who are caring for a friend or relative. And we try and make that easier because it's not easy. The front door, and probably the best way for anyone to access our services, is through our information and referral line. And I say line because it's primarily a phone number, but there is also an email component to it, which I'll get to at the end. What I'd really like is for you all to remember this phone number. And it's not because I want to put you into a call center, it's because we actually track and do intakes and keep data on every person that we touch and provide services to. And if it doesn't go through, a channel where it's dedicated to being tracked, we might miss something. So this is a quality assurance thing that we're trying to do here. Okay, so I mentioned that we provide services using a network of grantees. Our grantees really focus on awareness, engagement, and light touches. We really try and activate the community, get them aware of the Department of Aging and Community Living, and provide some moderate supports, things like transportation, senior wellness centers, and the like. The first program that I'd like to, call out specifically is the Mayor's signature Aging in Place program. It's called Safe at Home, and it's been around, I think, since her first term now. It's recently been expanded to include 3 other CDC identified falls risks. We always did the environment portion, right? We make in-home modifications to accommodate levels of ability, things like putting in a stair lift or widening a door threshold so a wheelchair can get through, or putting in grab bars, things like that. But now we're moving in a pilot program to reviewing medication, to providing balance and strength training, and to inspecting people's vision, because sight, medication interactions, and balance and strength are the other 3 things that cause people to fall. And from our perspective, when an older person falls, they're at increased risk for long-term negative health and outcomes. So the next thing I'd like to call out specifically are our senior wellness centers. These are like rec centers for adults. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be engaging. And your local senior wellness center is Hattie Homes at 324 Kennedy Street Northwest. But just because it's in Ward 4 doesn't mean that the people who live in Ward 4 have to go to it. They can choose to go to any of them, or even attend classes online if they prefer. All of them are different. All of the programming at our different wellness centers is chosen specifically by the members there. Although we do have criteria that 3 basic categories have to be covered. We want socialization because we know that isolation is a big problem for older adults. And we saw that during the pandemic, I think. We want a nutrition component because we want to make sure that people are getting enough to eat and we're keeping an eye on their nutrition. And then we also want a continued learning component because we feel that ongoing education is important for brain health, and it's just also good, right? Teaching people how to use computers or learning new skills, it's engaging. So these are our wellness center locations. I want to say that we're also, since you're Ward 3 adjacent, initiating this a phase of exploring an option for a wellness center in Ward 3 and Ward 2, I should say. You're just not Ward 2 adjacent. So you should probably expect to see more of that in the coming year. Another thing that we like to do that we think is very important is provide transportation options. There's not one size fit all for transportation needs, but we know that older adults often have trouble getting around. So we provide an array of options that people can use depending on their different scenario. Senior Med Express is free transportation to essential medical appointments. The connector card is perhaps the most flexible, and it is a Visa debit card that comes preloaded with money, $100 a month on a cost share basis. You know, if you don't make much money, you get the full 100 put on the card. If you make a lot of money, you get $30 put on the card. But the worst deal it ever is 30% off transportation. And it's usable for any ground-based transportation. And people can even roll over their prior month's money and save it up. Some people end up taking Amtrak trips to New York or Philadelphia off of this card. It is very flexible and people like it. We have paratransit through WMATA, okay, Metro Access, and an alternative through Transport DC, which is a paratransit taxi or rideshare vehicle. So some people think that Metro Access is a little inflexible and a little slow. We've heard that in the past. Haven't heard it recently, but we have heard it in the past. Transport DC provides an alternative for people who want paratransit on demand. Another thing that our grantees do is caregiver support. I did touch on the importance of family and community caregivers. I don't know, but I suspect that many of you listening in your own lives have had the responsibility for caring for a sibling or a parent. And we know that that can be very difficult. It's a labor of love, but it really does take a lot of time and energy and also mental energy. So we have a network of programs to provide support for that. Okay, so those are some of the programs that our grantees provide. Now, we keep the most critical programs in-house at the Department of Aging, and we do that because we think that with these things, nobody can fall through the cracks, and we want to keep an eye close on them. So case management and nursing home transition, these are actually separate programs, but they serve similar functions, so I've lumped them together here. Our EPD waiver enrollment, this is to use Medicaid dollars to get an in-home health aid. It's super important if somebody wants to stay in their home to be able to have a home aid if they need it. Nutritional support for our seniors who are most critically in need of extra nutrition, and adult protective services I've already mentioned. Those are all kept in-house at DACL. They're not contracted to a community-based organization to provide. So case management is really intended to be a short-term thing. It's not intended to be ongoing. It's not like social work. It's intended to focus on a problem that may be complex and foreboding, but which somebody who understands how different conditions interact could, tease that problem apart and in a relatively short 30 to 45 day span solve it. An example of this actually is nursing home transition, where you might have somebody who's in a nursing home and they'd like to return back to their community after a long-term stay in a nursing home, but their house isn't suitable, right? Because maybe it doesn't have a ramp up to the front door. Maybe they have trouble getting up the stairs. Maybe it's unsafe for them to step over the high lip of their old-fashioned clawfoot tub. Maybe there's not enough light in the basement, and they're just not able to do things the way that they would want to, or the way that they used to. So our nursing home transition person might loop in our Safe at Home program to make the necessary accommodations. Similarly, that person may still need some assistance with cooking or light housework, or even minding the medication. So we might bring in a home health aide. And there's a variety of things that case managers do, but really it is goal focused. It's not an ongoing service. It identifies barriers and tries to break them quickly. So the eligibility requirement for case management is up here. I think the main thing here is that the person has to want case management. It is a voluntary thing. People have to ask for it. We can't force it on anyone. People have to be a DC resident, 60 or over. And they can't have case management through another agency. That would be duplicative. Okay. Another important thing that we keep in-house is our state health insurance project, and that's Medicaid and health insurance services in general. I touched on the EPD waiver, which allows people to get an in-home health aide. That's super important. Just personally, my wife's mother is living with her sister, but her sister can't care for her all the time. And so they have an in-home health aide that comes, I think, 18 hours a week. And it's a great benefit because my wife's sister can go to work, right? So the EPD waiver program is very useful. However, it really is targeted towards lower income people. It has a fairly complex financial system and with federal and local components. So we try and advance the applications through. If you know somebody who would benefit from an in-home health aide, if they're not just out and out, well off, it might be worth talking to us. You can't have a lot of money and use this program, but we'd love to just take a look at the situation and see whether it could apply, because there are things like spend downs and things like that. All right, nutritional services. So obviously we conduct nutritional assessments to determine need, and we do home delivered meals. You've seen the Mom's Meals trucks driving around the city and a variety of others. Those are grantees of ours. We also do nutritional counseling and a variety of other things. We have the community dining sites. We have roughly, well, we have a little over 40 of them, I believe, currently scattered around the city. They used to be called congregate dining sites, but congregate's kind of an old-fashioned word, I think. So community dining sites is what we call them today. And they bring people together for both food and socialization. So they serve a dual purpose. You're trying to make it so that people are not at risk of malnutrition, but also so that they're coming together and they're exercising their brains, and you kind of can keep an eye on them a little bit, right? If they're in their home the whole time, it's harder. We have home delivered meals for people who absolutely can't get out. We understand that. We have fresh produce delivery, and we have a variety of other smaller projects and pilot projects having to do with nutrition. These are the eligibility requirements, broadly speaking, for home delivered meals and nutritional supplements. Nutritional supplements, I didn't really mention before, but this is stuff like Boost and Ensure, and it's really given to people who have difficulty getting enough nutrition through ordinary, eating means, or people who have had a serious and sudden weight loss. We get concerned about people like that. All right, on from nutrition, adult protective services. It's pretty self-explanatory. We investigate allegations of abuse, neglect, self-neglect, and financial exploitation. But notice it says vulnerable adults, so that could be anyone over 18 or over. There's a lot of crossover in these categories. Think about who might be vulnerable, right? It could be an adult who has a disability, it could be an older person, but there's something about that person that, you know, just puts them at a disadvantage. I should say that often a person's own family is the one that's kind of causing difficulty for the person, you know? They're just, I guess it's more opportunity. All of our investigations are confidential. You make a report, that report will be confidential. However, so will the status and result of our investigation. We treat them just like we would, or just like the police would a criminal file. And we make referrals. We make referrals over to prosecution. But our Adult Protective Services people also strike me as mediators sometimes, which might be useful in a family setting. All right, so that was me rushing through our services. You notice I didn't touch on all 40 of them, trying to leave time for questions. I mentioned earlier that the general intake was the 202-724-5626 number. I alluded to an email, and I love email because you get a written record of it, right? So ask.adrc@dc.gov. If you're curious, ADRC stands for Aging and Disability Resource Center. That's a kind of a mandated function of aging authorities. Our physical address, well, our headquarters, we now have 2 addresses, but our headquarters is at 500 K Street Northeast in the old Hayes School building. Adult Protective Services, because it's available to take reports 24/7, has a separate line. Please make note of that. And yeah, that's me. That's me. So you can reach me at this email or that office number, which will, if I don't pick up, go straight to my email actually, which I like. Or you can reach our entire communications division at dacl.communications@dc.gov. We are out in the community over 200 times a year. So we go to more than 200 events every year. I think we touch about, oh, I'm gonna get the number wrong, but I think our division alone might touch about 15,000 people a year, which is pretty cool. And I will stop, and I see people have their hands up.
Yep. So we will start with the commissioners, and I see Commissioner Gilligan has a question. So I will let you go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for.
And Mark, actually, if you don't mind, if you could stop your share, it would be helpful for me to see all the hands up. Thank you.
I'm doing that.
I just want to say thank you, Mark, for the overview. I know I learned a lot about what you offer, and I just had a question about capacity, and that's if there's any particular areas of your mission, of your services, that you don't feel that you have the capacity to deliver on to meet the demand. Are there areas that you just feel like, yeah, you're hitting a wall or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that we lack capacity, but I will say that certain programs, for whatever reason, spike in demand. And you know, sometimes the funding might run out just before the end of the fiscal year, but we still sign people up for the next one. I'm unaware of any programs that are like that right now. However, you know, as the fiscal year gets closer to a close, there may be some. We actually had proposed budget increases to several of our programs. We'll see whether they stay through the council's revision of the mayor's budget.
And is your budget largely consistent year to year, or have you seen ups and downs through the years?
For the most of the time that I've been here, it's been on a fairly healthy uptrend. I started at DACL, you know, back in 2014 when it was Office on Aging, and we have about twice as many employees now, and our budget is much greater. We have more resources now than ever.
I might give you a call sometime to learn more on the side. Thank you.
I'd like that. I enjoyed our talk in the last walkthrough.
Wonderful. Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, thank you. I also want to echo Commissioner Gilligan. Thank you, Mark. Your presentations are always very informative.
Thank you,
And
Erin.
I'll manage to be concise. I know that Safe at Home ties to housing, and I'm wondering if there's any other programming or services, or whether it's through affiliates or otherwise related to housing. And just to be completely candid, our housing committee had thought about doing a meeting focused specifically on seniors and housing issues. And I'm wondering if your agency would be relevant, or any more details on housing issues.
Well, I do think so, and I will try to give a fairly comprehensive answer here. Many DC agencies touch housing. You know, Department of Aging, we view the Safe at Home program as something of a housing program. And we think that is mostly because the cheapest home any of us are ever going to find in the city, or are likely to find, is the one that we're in. So we better make sure it works for us and continues to work for us. And that's what Safe at Home does, aside from all the good things it does about keeping people in community. But, you know, Office of Tax and Revenue has great benefits for seniors. I don't want to speak specifically to them, but they have really nice property tax abatements and lessened property taxes. Department of Housing and Community Development has the single family residential rehab program. Now, Safe at Home was originally part of that program many years ago, before the current mayor broke it out and, you know, gave it to us. The single family residential rehab program is actually more intensive, but it's also harder to get. So it can do things like alleviate code violations. They can put a new roof on a house, for example, or rebuild stairs. But it often ends up putting a lien on the person's house, and the person has to prove clean hands and all sorts of things to get it. So it takes a while. There's some paperwork involved. It's not the 45 to 60 day turnaround that Safe at Home is, but it is an important program for people who qualify. And actually, I don't think having a lien on a house that otherwise you would lose is such a bad thing. You know, I mean, I wouldn't be thrilled about it, but I would rather have the house with a lien than have my roof cave in. You know, Department of Energy, they have a variety of programs that will help people conserve energy and thereby conserve money, and also make their homes a little healthier and the environment a little healthier. They're good. I should loop back to Department of Housing Community Development, because I think they also have a lead paint abatement program, which is, you know, obviously important. There's probably a few that I'm missing. Oh, well, Department of Transportation, if you're lucky, they'll get you those numbered parking spaces, which will help you stay in your home.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from commissioners? All right, well, thank you very much, Mark. I'm very happy you were able to present. I think DACL does great work in the community, and I'm glad you were here to be able to provide some of that information.
Thank you. And I sent out my PowerPoint, and feel free to distribute far and wide. So,
Okay, wonderful. Have a great evening.
likewise.
Okay. So next on our agenda would be Cheryl Morse, who is the Consumer Outreach Specialist for the Office of the People's Council. She's going to talk a little bit about what they do as well, which I also think they do great work. So Ms. Morse, we're about to promote you now. Ms. Morse, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Yates. Oh, now I can see her. Wonderful.
Hi, good evening,
Good
everyone. It's and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. As Commissioner Brooks mentioned, I'm Cheryl Morse with the Office of the People's Council. I am the Ward 4 liaison for our office. So I go to all of the Ward 4 ANC, civic associations, and as many events as I possibly can. I was with Commissioner Gilligan just last week at the council members CARES Day last Wednesday. So I'll probably be seeing maybe some of you as we hit the streets again. But first of all, the Office of the People's Council, we're a consumer advocacy agency within the DC government. We help with utility issues, gas, electric, and water, and also Verizon landline issues as well. Your issues that we normally get are service, quality of service. People sometimes aren't able to pay their bills, and services that are happening or things that are happening by the utilities in their neighborhoods and so forth. The Office of the People's Council, we don't offer funding, but we help find funding from other agencies when that money is available. We are one of our biggest things is we go out into the city and all 8 wards, and we administer our services, tell people who we are. It's important that we get out there and talk about our hot topics and so forth. A few of our hot topics today would be, first one would be Washington Gas and their formal case 1169, which they proposed or presented to the Public Service Commission. And the Public Service Commission, just an FYI, is the regulator of the utilities. So they made their petition on April 4th of 2022, asking for a rate increase. Their rate increase that they proposed was for $53 million. How that breaks down to DC residents, that is $16.48 per month. Possibly approximately about 20% increase on your bills monthly. OPC's position is that we are fighting them on that. We aren't feeling that they are deserving a set rate increase. That is our position on, and we're chopping it down on our ways that we don't think that they deserve it, why they don't deserve it, and so forth. Another issue with Washington Gas is their project pipes. There is an infrastructure work being done in the city for project pipes, which is changing all of the old infrastructure for Washington Gas. It's approximately about 80 to 90 years old, and they're going through each neighborhood. It's to replace those pipes. That's a multi-year project, so it's a multi-million-dollar project as well. OPC is making sure that DC residents do not foot that bill. So also when project pipes comes to your neighborhoods, we always advise people to please take pictures of your property before and after. When they come into the neighborhoods, they are digging. Sometimes they're digging very close to your flower beds and things like that. And we just want to make sure that you are made whole. Your property looks at the way it did before. A lot of Washington Gas's work is contracted out. So a lot of the contractors, the Office of the People's Council, we stay on top of them, making sure that they know the rules and what they can and cannot do in DC during project pipes. As I stated, it's going to happen for a few years. And we just want to make sure that DC residents, neighborhoods, meters, if they're moved from the inside to the outside of their home, that is not too evasive, and it's somewhat of what you want. Now, a lot of questions people ask, does Washington Gas have the right to move that meter from inside my home to outside? And yes, they do. They own the meters. So please take your pictures, call us if you have problems, and so forth. The other issue is Pepco, who has also requested a rate increase, and one of the largest rate increases in their history. Actually, it's $190 million over a 3-year period. The first installation will start they're wanting it to start is next year. Then on 2024, then again in January 2025, and the final installations 2026. That right now, the numbers look like it'll be about an $18.40 on average bill increase for all DC residents. And yes, we are fighting that one as well. We have issues with the how large it is and the 3-year extent period in which they're wrapping it all. This is the first time they've really ever done that. They have always just gone, they being Pepco have always just asked for a flat fee, just like Washington Gas is doing now, but they have broken it out over 3 years. And to give you the numbers on those 3 years, in 2024, they're asking for $116.4 million. In 2025, $36.9 million. And 2026, $37.2 million. Now, Pepco also has a project where they're upgrading their infrastructure called DC Plug. That is going to happen in most wards, Ward 4 particularly, to put a lot of the overhead wires below ground. Not all of DC will be underground, just those areas that have been susceptible to major outages in the summer and winter times. Ward 4, again, Shepherd Park, during the derecho, how you guys, those areas were hit. They're going to really focus on those. That project has changed considerably. It's gone from $1 billion infrastructure work. It has increased considerably as well, down to the millions. OPC's position on that is, of course, it should happen, but not on the backs of DC residents. So we're making sure that DC residents pay a very small portion, if at all, to have that done. Other things that we talk about is that there are third-party suppliers. Third-party suppliers are companies that have been given permission from the Public Service Commission to sell or solicit their services for gas and electric utilities. They're here legally, as I stated, Public Service Commission has okayed it. As long as they're listed on their website, they have the right to do so. Most of those companies are not in DC. They're out of upstate New York, Florida, Texas, and so forth. I think there's only one Clean Choice that may be local. Some of the names: IDT, Major Energy, Empower, Sunsea, and so forth. The problems that we're having with the third-party suppliers is that most of them, since they're not here, they're soliciting through a third party, another vendor. Those vendors go into the neighborhoods and they actually focus on the seniors and the low income. And they're charging them at rates much higher than if they had stayed with the SOS provider, which is Pepco or Washington Gas. We're not promoting that the customers stay with Pepco or Washington Gas, because change is and you have the choice to change. It's just that we like to make you an educated consumer. So if you're wanting to switch, know what you're getting into, know a variable rate from a fixed rate. A lot of the customers are getting caught in the variable rate. They're being told if you take the variable, there's no penalty to cancel the service, and that is a good thing. But they're charging them at rates that are 2, 3, and 3 times what Pepco or Washington Gas are charging. So one of the key things that they need, DC is a no signature city, meaning that there's not a contract that has to be signed. All these vendors need are your account numbers, and we suggest that customers do not show your account numbers to anyone soliciting at your door to give you better service. And one of the major things, especially with the ones that are doing electricity, they may say that they're with Pepco. One of the first things to be alerted by is that they're never with Pepco or Washington Gas. Neither one of those companies solicit, go out into the community like that. They already, your account numbers, the numbers that they give you, so they wouldn't ask for that and so forth. So we just want to, again, make the customers or the residents of DC educated on the services. As for this, as me going out into Ward 4, if you want, because we are going out into the community, doing the walks for the with the council member, if you have events in your single member districts or meetings that you would like OPC to attend, please let me know. I would definitely enjoy to being there and sharing our information and some of our things that we have to give out to people. Also, finally, we thank you for allowing me to speak with you and giving my oral presentation on behalf of Sandra Matabu Fry, the People's Council for Washington. Thank you. And if there are any questions, please.
Okay. So let me see. Commissioner Gilligan?
Hey, thank you, Cheryl, for the information. For things like project pipes, for example, when folks go through that, as I just did just the other day, and we have feedback, neighbors have feedback, should they be providing that directly to you or another resource?
It can be directly to me. I meet with Washington Gas quarterly to get the updates. I can tell when I know when they're going to be in your neighborhood, when they are in your neighborhood and so forth. But yeah, could be a very good start with project pipe questions or concerns.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna follow up for my own experience where it wasn't great. They didn't come the scheduled day, and I had to change my work schedule to do that, be there. So we had to do another day, and also the morning of the work when they were there. I looked in the backyard and there was somebody in the backyard without like plain clothes, and it was alarming. Turns out that I don't know what he was doing in the backyard. He couldn't explain it, but he seemed to be poking around and looking around, and it was unnerving. And I just fear that if that were to happen in a household that's not mine, where I don't own any firearms or anything like that, it could lead to bad situations. And he was apologetic, but he didn't have any explanation for why he was back there. But I will say they were flexible in terms of where to relocate the meter on the house, and they were receptive to feedback, and so that was nice. But anyway, I'll follow up with a written.
Please. You also have another option that they are not always telling you about moving the meters from inside to out. Sometimes it's not convenient, like it wasn't for me, to move my meter from the inside of my home to the outside, because it would be impeding my walkway on the side of my home. So they were able to put a shut-off valve. It's still a mechanism, a long pipe, but it only takes about 8-10 inches from your house, as opposed to the big box that you're seeing. So that's an option that they don't necessarily tell you about, but it is available to you.
All right, thank you. I'm hoping that you will expound just a little bit on, for example, I know that there are residents that are having trouble paying now that amnesty is over for COVID, having trouble paying utility bills. Is it better for residents to reach out to you before disconnection, or is it okay after disconnection? I'm asking that question because I know there have been some residents in this situation lately.
Right. Okay. Well, definitely call us before. We always explain to customers, even though you may not be a customer in good standing, you're still a customer, and they're willing to negotiate with you, and you give us negotiating power because you're still a customer. It is after you are cut off that all of those rights are gone. Pepco and Washington Gas usually want 75% of the bill, which you couldn't pay 100%, but that's what they want. We can negotiate with them and so forth, but never wait until you're cut off. I know a lot of people who need assistance from energy. They are misunderstanding that they feel that energy doesn't help them until they're cut off, and that's not the case in that either. They will help. They monitor. They put it in order. If you're cut off, then you have your priority. If you're not cut off, then you're kind of put down on it, but they will help you. Don't wait until you're cut off. Never, ever wait until you cut off. Again, you have no leverage. The money that they're asking for, and we're getting the bills because of the moratorium, just an FYI, are horrendous. Horrendous. I had a $9,000 bill today.
Mhm.
On average, for the last couple of weeks, my average bills from customers have been $3,000 and above for gas or electric, mostly electric. And the utilities are cutting people off at alarming rates. So we can't say it enough. A lot of people didn't apply for energy like they should have during the moratorium. And that's some of why they're where they are, but the hardship, everyone is trying to get it, rebound from it. And as well as, unfortunately, the utility companies, and this is kind of the domino effect of what's going on. So we're doing our due diligence and doing our best to help everyone and getting back on and getting funds. But again, I can't reiterate, do not wait until you're cut off.
All right, thank you for that. Let me see if there are any other questions. I see one question from a resident, so we will allow them to talk.
There's also a question in the chat. Chair
Why don't
Brooks,
you
if you
read
want me to
that
read
one?
that first.
Mhm.
Paul Schwartz says, I know DC Water is in control of its own budget, but according to Caleb Benjamin of the Washington Informer, they are proposing a 70% increase in the combined water sewer bill over the next several years. 410 million of the increases are slated by DC Water's DC rate setting committee to be used for lead service line replacement. Would or could OPC take a look at the impact of these rate increases on low-income folks and their access to potable water and sanitation?
Yes, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have, because of the water issues that we've noticed the major increase in water complaints. We've actually started 3 years ago a water division. We never had a separate water division, and that just lets you know how many water complaints we're getting, that we had to start a new division just for water. But water hasn't always been on the list of a utility because it's not regulated by the Public Service Commission like gas and electric. Water has regulated themselves. So that's also been an issue. So we had to go through legislation to even start our water division and get our legal team together and so forth. But we would definitely fight for the DC residents concerning those issues. Yes.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so let's go back to the last question, resident. Oh, their hand is no longer raised. Okay, so I'll assume they no longer have a question. Okay, well, with that, I thank you for coming and for hanging in with us. And
You're
look
welcome.
forward to working with you in the future. Oh, wait, they raised their hand again. Okay. Okay, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a comment, it's not a question. I want to introduce to me. I am Euclides Rengifo. I am neighborhood to Miss Barbara. I am happy to be here all meeting and listen, or see the presentation. And I want to say thank you for everything you are doing for the neighborhood. I am part of the PAPE, parent abogating for the student. I am teacher. I have 2 children. I am happy to be here today. I hope I coming next time to this important meeting.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and we hope you come back.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, Ms. Morris. Have a great evening.
You're welcome. And I'll put my contact information on the chat as well.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, next we'll hear from the EYA Multifamily Tacoma Park Metro Station project. This is just a presentation this month. And so I will elevate Karen Garfield and Evan Goldman. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, there's a few others too whose name came in after.
Okay.
If they're on the list.
1
Paul
sec.
Tummins.
Oh, Paul's doing double duty tonight?
I know. There must not be enough lawyers in this town.
I guess not.
Federico Oliveros, if he's on here.
I don't
No,
see-
I
I
don't
don't see
see
Federico.
him. And then Kyle Oliver.
Kyle
Yes.
Oliver, 1 second.
All right.
So 1 sec, I'm still promoting. At least I think I'm still promoting. I'm looking for Evan Goldman. I don't see his name.
Evan actually won't be able to join us this evening.
Okay, great. That's why I can't see his name.
He's at another ANC meeting.
Chair Brooks, if I might, I'd like to do a brief introduction for folks who haven't attended these meetings before.
Absolutely.
This is the proposed development at the Tacoma Metro Rail Station. This is probably the 11th or 12th meeting hosted by the commission or its commissioners to hear feedback on this project. This project was unanimously supported by the commission both last term before the zoning board and this term in January before the zoning board. It's the result of the design you see is result of pretty extensive community feedback, but they're beginning to go to the Historic Preservation Review Board, and that's what this presentation is focused on. But our commission's focus has been mainly on the PUD process, which is how we are delivering 70 deeply affordable units for our community, including family-sized units, better transit experiences, and a permanent park for community use. But with that, I will turn it over to the team of the EOA.
Thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. So thank you. I'm Karen Garfield, Vice President of Multifamily Development with EYA. Do have other members of our team here in case there are some specific questions. But I know we are relatively short on time, so thank you for having us this evening. Evan did ask us to attend to provide a preview of our upcoming HPRB presentation, which I will share, but I also am going to provide some background information for those who are less familiar. Since we're short on time, I will use my fast speaking voice. But we're always available to answer questions, and I'll provide our website at the end. The Tacoma Metro development brings high quality, mixed use, mixed income development to a metro node and creates a tremendous opportunity for smart growth on an infill site next to transit. EYA has a long history of providing high quality, mixed income housing in the metro region, and at the Tacoma Metro Station, we'll be providing 15% affordable housing, or 70 units, including 3-bedroom units for families at earning 30% of the area median income, meaning that there will be deeply affordable units next to the metro. So we're really pleased to be doing that. We've also applied for a program through the Department of Housing and Community Development that would allow us to increase the affordable housing units to 33%, or 144 units of the total, which would still include 3-bedroom affordable units for that families earning 30% of the area median income. We've been in close contact with DHCD, and we're hopeful that we will receive approval soon, and we'll keep the ANC updated. And in addition, we're providing modern retail space with the ability to have indoor, outdoor uses, off-street loading, and provide needed conveniences for the neighborhood. And along with the input from your ANC, we've committed to a number of community benefits. And this is not the entire list, but I think some of the highlights: meaningful community outreach, entrepreneurial opportunities for once we're under construction. We've committed to reaching out through the council member Louis George's office, through local high schools and whatnot, to provide internship opportunities, access to transit. We'll have dedicated open space with a public easement for that space to remain open space in perpetuity. We have stormwater management improvements. I'll touch on some of this today. We're doing pretty robust tree preservation. We've provided a shared use path for access through the site. enhanced pedestrian safety. I'll touch on some of those measures too, and we'll be including solar in our design. We also have some upcoming meetings, and Evan touched on one of them. We have HPRB, Historic Preservation Review Board, on June 1st. We have an ANC sponsored walk at the property on June 7th. We will rush that evening to make it to the ANC Housing Justice Committee meeting later that evening. And then we have our zoning commission hearing on June 15th. This slide provides a neighborhood context that informed our design. I'm not going to spend any real time on it. We then looked at the open spaces, the green areas of Tacoma Metro. Didn't have good usable public space. Similarly, we looked at the retail corridor along the metro side of the street, and there is a break in the retail, which our plan intends to stitch together. We created this transit zone, which is in the blue area next to the metro, where all metro activities will take place, and we created public open space that provides an area for the community and a buffer between the building and the homes along Eastern Avenue. And then we have a building zone in red and a retail zone along Carroll. Okay. The project site plan on the right shows in more detail how the site works. The Metro bus kiss and ride are along the tracks and the Metro entrance. The community park will provide an area for a shared use path. It has passive open space, active play features for multi-generational use. And one of the great features is that the entrance to the parking, loading, and trash all occurs within the site by traveling on this cut through the multi-use courtyard. And thereby it takes any pressure off of surrounding streets with the loading concerns and parking access. The retail fronts a public plaza with a variety of seating and outdoor dining opportunities and areas, and the entrance to the residential lobby is along the drive. And then there will be a residential courtyard for the building residents. All told, there are 434 units, 17,000 square feet of retail, and about 1.8 acres of open space, in addition to all of the WMATA services. To start the design of the building, the conceptual massing of the building took shape by looking at the adjacencies on each side and creating a facade type that responded to that adjacency. So the building does several moves to create a more retail facade along Carroll, and then a more residential scale facade along Eastern, and further steps back as it gets closer to Eastern. And so this is just kind of showing how the framework of this building and design took place. And these aerial massings better demonstrate the variety of facades to do a number of things. It responds to the adjacency, creates rhythm with materials, colors, and dimension. And each one is providing a vantage point from a view from a different vantage point. So the top left image is showing, here's the metro tracks in the background. Here's the retail plaza, how the retail lines the plaza. This is where you would drive in to go to parking or for all the loading and service that'll take place. The residential entrance, lobby entrance is right here where the pink arrow is. Then the building really does start to take more of a townhouse like feel as it steps closer to single family homes across Eastern, and then is really set back by this park space. The image on the top right is looking, if you're on the metro rails, looking into, again, a peek into that multi-use courtyard, and just seeing how the design, again, kind of plays off the motion of the metro is, I think a really nice articulation. And then the other two images, I think just because we're short on time, I will jump to some renderings and we'll see those there. We also looked at the scale of what's around the site and took the retail scale into consideration. So the far left image is the height of the retail at the proposed building. And essentially what this is showing is that it stays in scale and is in the spirit of the retail in the surrounding area of Tacoma and Tacoma Park, where the retail also straddles. And these are the artist renderings of each of the building blocks that we just reviewed. And so this one on the upper left is if you were hovering above the metro rail and looking this off in the distance is the new condo building being built. This is the building across the street with like Supergirl and whatnot. And then this is the view of the building. And what I think this does really nicely is it does not only is this court area serving a good purpose, but it's also breaking up the building and kind of reads almost like two buildings, but connected, definitely related, and it's still they still make sense together. And then you can also kind of peek into the retail courtyard, the retail plaza, sorry, with the outdoor dining. The other nice thing that we're able to do is preserve, these are the existing trees that are there today. And we're able to preserve those, and it's really nice to have that mature tree canopy in a new property. Oftentimes you don't get to experience that, so it's a really nice benefit. The image on the top right is just a closer view. If you were walking off of the metro, you would be probably right about where the pink arrow is. This is showing where the buses will come in and out. This car is part of going to the kiss and ride, so all bus and kiss and ride happens close to the metro tracks. And then you get a better view of how that retail really sits along that plaza and creates these nice zones for, again, outdoor dining, for just public to congregate, to rest, to meet, relax. And then the bottom left is showing a vantage point coming in off of Cedar. And again, this is the residential lobby entrance right to the right. The retail starts to wrap the corner. And then you go under here, and then that's where it opens up to this outdoor courtyard that we saw in the upper left picture. And then the bottom right is just a more zoomed out view. If you were hovering over, you would have to be standing well above this black line indicates the height of the NBC of the new condo building. So it'd be way above that to see this vantage point. But it gives you a good view of how the building really, again, responds to these different environments that it has, which is one more of a retail presence along the transit plaza, responding to that, and then really taking a more residential feel. This page and the next shows some of the public spaces and how they'll start to feel. The image on the top right shows the multi-use courtyard looking from where the bus loop metro will be, and you will note that there's the garage entrance, artful designs on both the facades and the pavers. There are bollards and landscaping to help frame and shape the space, and a passage for pedestrians or bikes to go through this area to access metro. So there's a lot of porosity through the site and different ways that you can traverse and make your way places. So the building is certainly not an obstacle, but rather provides a lot of options. And then the bottom right image shows the space as you enter it from Cedar and how people and bicycles and vehicles will start to use the space. These public spaces on the left is the plaza by the retail, and on the right is the park space. They'll really provide a meaningful opportunities to congregate, to relax, to play. And the feature in the image on the right is really just indicative of play areas that can be both usable and artistic and provide multiple types of uses. We'll be working with the ANC, with the community, to get additional input on more particular design points when we get to the more specific details of that. And although this is not part of our HPRB presentation, we've heard concerns about stormwater management on the site. The image on the left is the existing. I know it's a little crazy looking. It's has all the topography lines on it. But the point is that today there's no stormwater management on the site. Our plan, which is on the right, will install both bio retention facilities and use green roofs to treat this and slow stormwater. It meets all the standards, requirements, and regulations of the DC District Department of Energy and Environment. oops, sorry. And then to further explain the stormwater management, this diagram depicts where each of the specific areas of the property gets treated with the WMATA facilities in yellow, flowing into these the yellow, these weird shapes. I didn't learn these in geometry, but I know the circle, the others just outlined in the yellow line. The pink is all the public spaces which go to this bioretention outlined in pink. And then all the building flow goes to these areas outlined in blue. And so just to kind of demonstrate and show how that stormwater actually gets taken care of and where the different areas of the site will go. And then I also just thought it'd be helpful, one of the overarching themes was also this connectivity and connections and circulation through and around the site. There will be enhanced pedestrian safety measures, such as curb bump outs to reduce distance of street crossings. There will be a raised crosswalk across the kiss and ride and the bus path, and a lot of accessible paths and bicycle routes throughout the site. I only had 10 minutes, so I did go super fast, but certainly available to answer any questions. And then we also do have, we will be putting this presentation as well as all presentations to date and access to our PUD submission at our website, which is tacomastationdevelopment.com. And you can find a lot of resources and information, and you can also send us questions through that website.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Yates?
I can go last if it's fine. I've had more time with this project than others, so someone else would.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen?
Hi, Karen, how are you?
Oh, thanks.
Good. I just had a couple questions around what sort of outreach are you doing with some of the neighbors in the area? I know there's some buildings nearby. And also in terms of outreach, how are you soliciting feedback from those neighbors?
Sure. So as Evan mentioned, we've had, I don't know the count, but I think Evan said it earlier. But I might be in double digits meetings via the ANC. We've reached out separately. We've had meetings with Maryland residents. We've met with the council members from both DC and Maryland. We've reached out to individual residents, specifically along Eastern Avenue, because obviously they're closest to the site. And we do have a whole list. I'm certain I'm missing some of our outreach, but that's been probably, I think we've started our outreach. It's been about 16 months or so through the process prior to it, long before us submitting our PUD last November. I think we had our first ANC presentation. It was probably February or March of 2022. Don't quote me on that. I think that's approximate. And then certainly, we have a website that we're able to direct people to. We've had people reach out to us. We've had people contact us with individual questions. So I think more or less that's how we've been doing it.
Are you receiving feedback from folks, and are you getting feedback in?
Yeah, we have gotten, over the last probably I lost track of time, but let's say it's 18 months or so, we've certainly heard a lot. Candidly, a lot of the plan that you see is from amazing input driven by specifically from these community meetings. A lot of everything from design changes or design elements or features, I should say, to the meaningful affordable housing, to the access to a public space easement and things like that, pedestrian safety. All of these were concerns that we heard, and I think we've done a good job of incorporating them and committing to making sure that we include them.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gilligan, excuse me.
My question is very easy, I think. Just assuming everything goes right, the timeline for the project's completion, do you just have a rough year or date or anything like that, just to get a sense?
Yeah, so we would probably start construction in about in the early part of 2025. And it's about a 2-year build out. So 2027 would be when it would deliver.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Would you mind taking down your share? It makes it just a little bit easier.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Okay, so there's one question in the chat which says regarding EYA affordable units, will the units be perpetually affordable, or when affordable units, first affordable owners sell, will the units then become market price units?
So this is a rental property, so they will not sell, and the affordability will be in place for the inclusionary zoning is for 99 years.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other questions. So Commissioner Yates, do you want to?
I just wanted to thank you for, thank you for coming for yet another meeting with us. I really appreciate it. I know we've sat there and we've heard a lot of different comments from people on both sides of the border. I did want to ask one follow-up question about the stormwater retention. I noticed in one of your filings that you said that the amount of permeable space on the site is actually impermeable space. Sorry, this is what I was unlike flammable and inflammable, they do not mean the same thing. The amount of impermeable space on the site is actually decreasing. Is that accurate, that that there'll actually be more permeable space on the site after construction?
So I do have Kyle on the line, who is our civil engineer with VICA, who can probably better explain this than I can. The extent of my stormwater management explanation, I kind of maxed that out with what I showed you. But do you mind if I pull the screen up, and that might be helpful?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can't get my video function, so I apologize about that. But I just wanted to make sure you all can hear me. So actually, that's not a correct statement. Right now, the existing site is approximately 50% impervious and 50% pervious or grass areas. And the proposed site is about 70% impervious. However, with the extensive amount of bioretention facilities, as Karen said earlier, there are no stormwater management facilities on the site currently. So when we meet the DOE requirements, we're looking at 2-year storm events, 15-year storm events, and we're taking the 2-year storm event back to wooded condition. That's a requirement of DOE. So we're greatly improving the 2-year storm event, and the 15-year storm event, we have to meet the existing conditions. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out and answering questions yet again.
Nope, we're happy to do it. And if anyone, again, our website, you can reach us through there, or Evan can certainly share my email address. Happy to answer any questions. And hope to see everybody on June 7th.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. So Paul, you're doing double duty tonight, so I'm glad we could accommodate having you on one meeting for 2 issues. So if you'd like to take the floor, you can do that. I guess I should give a little introduction in that Paul has been here previously. He is talking to us about what's going on a project that is adjacent to ANC 4B or SMD 4B09, Art Place at Fort Totten. And he has provided information along the way and is back again to do that again, which is greatly appreciated. He's also presented the same presentation at the Lamont Riggs Citizens Association meeting last month, as they're greatly impacted. So I will give you the floor.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. And I will have no problem doing this in less than 10 minutes. This is a rather simple application that we have before you. Again, thank you very much. My name is Paul Tummins. I'm Land Use Council of Gulson and Stores on behalf of the K. Fritz Foundation. And we're here to talk about the Art Place at Fort Totten project. For those who have been near the site, which is across South Dakota Avenue from the Lamont Riggs Library, you can see that this is a site that has been under construction for the past year or so. And you can see here the slides, the pictures I have to show the construction activity that has occurred on the site and it's going to continue to occur. What we're here tonight to talk about is, in zoning parlance, a modification of consequence application, meaning a minor modification to a project that was previously approved by the zoning commission. And all we're looking to do here tonight is talk about some construction, sequencing, and occupancy. So if you can see my picture here, this is the full site. Right now, we are just talking about the proposed construction and occupancy of this first stage. This is South Dakota Avenue here. This is Kennedy Street. This is Ingraham here. Pursuant to the lease agreements that the KFRS Foundation has with both Aldi, which will be located approximately right here at the corner of South Dakota and Kennedy, and a new children's museum, we are required to provide space to those two entities by February of 2024 so that they can continue their build out. Right now, the zoning commission orders that approve the project that you have here before you do not say anything about phased occupancy or construction. So for lack of a better term, out of an abundance of caution, in order to make sure that when we are able to deliver the Aldi space and the Children's Museum space, we can then continue construction of this project and those spaces can open. So the sequences of construction, our first construction occupancy here, then we'll go and continue construction. These are residential buildings here. This is formerly 4th Street, which has now been closed and will become a kind of mixed-use pedestrian vehicular access street. And then finally, the full project with the commercial component of this project. So we're not seeking any changes to the height, mass, use of what was previously last approved by the Zoning Commission in 2021. This is just to allow this phased construction and occupancy so there can be a specific order in the approval from the Zoning Commission and that we can get Aldi and the Children's Museum in there as quickly as possible. So with that, and as Chairman Brooks mentioned, we previously presented to Lamont Riggs, and then we are presenting to ANC 5A later this week for this approval. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Also, in the audience this evening is Sean Cahill, also with the KFRS Foundation.
Hanging around. Does anyone have any questions with regard to the project? And in case I didn't spell it out, this project is actually in Ward 5. This is not inside of our jurisdiction, but again, because we are adjacent to the development, we have the right to weigh in if we so choose. And in the past, we have weighed in on a variety of issues, all of which were fine. We've always weighed in support. I don't think that we necessarily need to weigh in on this issue per se, but did want everyone to be aware of what was going on. Okay, do you mind stopping your share for me, Paul? Just to make sure there are no questions, make sure I can see everybody. Okay, any questions from anyone before we let Paul go? Doesn't look like it. Paul, you've benefited from being last on the agenda.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
You wore them down. All right, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too, bye-bye.
Okay, so we have a few items left. We have the consent calendar, which I can read off right now, and then we'll have one letter to vote on at the end. The first letter noting lengthy history of requests and calling for action. I always forget to do this, so before I read these titles, let me also indicate that all of these items are located on our website and have been posted for several days. Items that are on consent typically are not discussed, and there will then just be a vote. With that, let me read the items. A letter noting lengthy history of requests and calling for action to address illegal commercial vehicles, Commissioner Yates, Palmer, and Brooks. Resolution 4B 230501, supporting and providing recommendations on B25-0257, Hybrid Meeting Accessibility Act of 2023 to ensure accessibility and inclusivity, Commissioners Brooks, Palmer, Gilligan, and Yates. Resolution 4B 23, oh, I'm sorry, that's not on the consent calendar, so let me stop right there. So those are the only two items on consent. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented? I need somebody to say it. You
I
can't
make a motion.
just- Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's everyone. All right. Next is Resolution 4B 23-0502, calling for racial and demographic impact analysis of DC Historic Districts, Commissioner Palmer, Yates, and Colson. Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, thank you. Let me just pull up my notes to present this. So this proposed resolution recognizes the district's commitment to and work on integrating racial equity analysis across all its decision and policy making. This is in part through the Racial Equity Achieves Results Act. Notably absent in the racial equity analysis is data gathering and that analysis for historic districts. There currently exists no documented data collection or analysis of the demographics and sociological outcomes related to the creation and existence of historic districts in DC. Some research indicates from other jurisdictions that over time, historic districts become whiter with increased education and higher income levels. It would be helpful to understand whether that is the case in the District of Columbia, and if and whether it varies across different historic districts in DC. The resolution calls for data collection and analysis of the racial impact of present and proposed historic districts to assist the district in its decision and policy making. And it is presented by the three commissioners who represent portions of the Tacoma Park Historic District.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to, I heard from constituents in support of this resolution. I wanted to add that the Office of Planning, of which historic preservation is part, has done a pretty good job of acknowledging the need for racial equity assessments in planning and zoning and the historical harms that were done there. It is an extremely logical next step for the Office of Planning to apply this to the historic Office of Historic Preservation and to the Historic Preservation Review Board. And so I'm grateful to and proud to be a part of this resolution.
Thank you. All in favor?
We have to move.
I'm sorry, we sure do. Is there a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
I will move to approve
Thank
the
you.
resolution.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor? You know it's after that.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's everyone. All right, so now we'll move to the last item on the agenda. Let me open my email again. That's a letter requesting additional information related to the pre-implementation, execution, and follow-up of lead service line replacement work performed by DC Water, Commissioner Cohen and Commissioner Smith.
Yep, so this is a letter to DC Water looking at some of the historical issues that have occurred as part of lead service line replacement throughout specifically my SMD, but I believe also Commissioner Smith's SMD. We worked to gain feedback on this letter, and the purpose of this letter is really to ask questions and gather information, and with the goal of potentially, coming back with recommendations in a future letter or resolution that would address some of those, the information that we get back. I've received a significant number of concerns from constituents over the past few months, everything related from what's called restoration in kind. So in-home issues, lawn issues, personal property issues, public space issues. And so this is highlighting those issues, including some of the concerns in a redacted fashion as an attachment, that some of those constituents sent. They seem to continue to come in via email. And I'm hoping to, with this resolution, be able to get more information on how we can address those.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Yates?
Yes. Yeah. My concern is like, I think at the top of the meeting and over email, we saw Commissioner Smith express a desire to allow more time for consideration in this meeting. We heard from one of the outside groups that you've consulted that they wanted more time to provide you with proper feedback. I guess why the rush to do this tonight when other people who've been involved in this project with you are asking for more time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done a pretty diligent job of getting feedback. We were going back and forth all day. Should we submit it? Should we not submit it? We solicited feedback. An individual reached out to us, offered feedback, didn't really provide feedback, but offered, requested to table it. These issues have been going on for a while. And while I don't want to say that there's a rush to do it, I think that constituents' needs deserve to be heard. And I think that there are enough of these concerns that this needs to be brought to the attention of DC Water.
Then if that, I'm sorry, let Commissioner Yates finish his question.
No, I yield to the.
If that's then the case, then I would ask why those specific issues aren't included in the letter. Like if a resident has
They are. They're included as an attachment. There's some of them that are included as an attachment.
So does that mean we have not seen the attachment? Because I can't vote on what I haven't seen.
There should be an attachment.
Let me double check. Maybe I'm just not considering it an attachment. Hold on one second.
I do recall an attachment. Alice.
Okay, then maybe I just saw it and I'm not calling it an attachment.
Yeah, I mean, the attachments contain redacted emails from people that emailed in regarding their concerns, everything from failure to remediate, failure to restoration in kind, concerns about the quality of the work that was done, photos.
Okay, I did see the photos. I recall that. Sorry.
I guess I don't see any harm in more time. And I think that I think it's a reasonable request. I mean, I've had some concerns that I want to articulate here because I think some more time would be beneficial to it, some substantive and some procedural concerns. So I think I would make a motion to table this resolution until our next meeting.
Is there a second?
Before we second, I just want to get a little bit more feedback have from other commissioners. Have you guys gotten a chance to, look at the letter and attachments, or do you feel like we need more time because I want the commission as well as others who are quite familiar with this issue. I want all of us to be on the same page before we, get a vote. So are there other commissioners who feel the same way as Evan?
Weigh in, Commissioner Smith. I've read the letter multiple times at this point. At face value, I think it's a fine letter. I think collecting information, I'm never opposed to collecting information, requesting information. And the questions that are in the letter that I've read are ones that I've heard from my own constituents and that I've wondered myself. And I've tried to get answers from DC Water, the project implementation team for the current ongoing work in the neighborhood, and I haven't been able to get the information. And so at least for some of those questions, this would resolve, hopefully, that question mark in terms of getting some answers. But so I defer to the authors that are proposing the letter on whether you want to table it for more time. It can always make it better, or if you want to move forward with it. That's my feelings at the time.
Commissioner Palmer, and then Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. I would just say that I don't think there was time for fulsome discussion and open communication at the planning meeting or afterward. I think it was cut short, and I would appreciate more time. I don't feel extremely strongly about it. I think the letter is okay, but I have some concerns about the timeline and procedure.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'm fine with the letter as is as a starting point, having just had this conversation with a constituent this past weekend. I definitely think that this is a starting point, and then perhaps we can have a further discussion if we want to elaborate further on this letter moving forward. There's nothing to say that we can't submit an addendum to this letter. So I think as is, I would prefer to move forward. However, I again defer to the authors.
Yeah, I think let me just give my comment, Commissioner Cohen, then I'll let you have at it. I think that since Commissioner Smith is an author as well, I'm concerned that he's concerned. So on face value, I thought it was fine, but if he has reservation and he's associated with the letter, then I think that needs to be heard and not just voted on, even though it's fine. Go ahead, Commissioner Cohen.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Tiffany said. I look at this as a starting point and the opportunity to potentially amend the letter or even, propose a resolution that is the next step of this letter. So I don't want this to be sort of an end point. Again, I think information is key in this situation, and we've been having a really tough time getting this information. And I think that by passing this letter now, we will get the information and give us a segue into the next step. However, I do hear Commissioner Smith's concerns, and I want to make sure that he's comfortable as a co-sponsor. I want to hear his input, and I don't want anyone to feel like I'm sort of pushing this on them. It sounds like some folks are, appreciate the letter and the information that's in it. It sounds like others want more time. Like I said, I think we could always, amend the letter in the future or draft a second letter or draft a resolution. But the information that we're requesting, we've been after it for a while.
So so for my sake, let's define a while, because they've come to 2 meetings and you've sent them 1 email, as far as I know, last month, right? So
we've sent them an email. We've called them a few times.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's been a few back and forths. I'd have to look at like the background here, but it's not like they're being forthcoming with the information from what I can tell.
Can I read a chat?
Yeah, I believe DC Water.
Yeah, Kirsten B. Williams Esquires. Good evening, Commissioner Cohen. Thank you for releasing your concerns. One of the DC Water Board of Directors. He shared your letter and provided responses. Please let us know if you did not receive it. We would greatly appreciate an opportunity to address the entire ANC and address the questions in person at your next ANC meeting. This is Kirsten Williams, DC Water's Chief Communications and Stakeholder Engagement Officer.
No, I appreciate that. I think that the second piece of it is making sure that our constituents' voices are heard.
Did you
and making
get their
sure.
letter though?
I'm sorry.
Did you get their letter? She said you were sent.
I have not. I have not looked to see if I've gotten a letter. When was it sent?
I don't know. Let's see. I'm sorry, should we? Is it Kirsten? Was that her name? Commissioner Yates, Kirsten?
Ms. Williams, yeah. I can ask to promote if she wants to join us.
Yeah, maybe that's helpful. She said they sent it this afternoon. Well, then of course you didn't get it. Okay. So given that you now have a letter that you have not read, what do we do?
So that before Michael goes, that's
I'm happy
pretty
to
much.
address any of the questions that you have this evening. Thank you so much for bringing me forward to do that, but I don't want to speak out of turn, Commissioner Smith. My apologies.
No, you go ahead. I'll defer to you for right now, and then I'll go afterwards.
No, thank you all so much. And I know it's been certainly a long evening, and we greatly appreciate one of our board members shared Commissioner Cohen's draft letter with us, and we did, quickly convene to make sure we could address each one of the points. We erred certainly in not sending it to the entire population, but we were trying to communicate directly with Commissioner Cohen, as that was who we received the information from. We recognize that we certainly have some concerns that your constituents have raised, and we want to address them firsthand and do a better job of making sure we can, respond in person and or, create a better chain of communication back and forth between our Lead Free DC group and certainly, my office. But I will make sure we share those responses with each one of you this evening. And we would love an opportunity to come back, next month or at whatever time you all deem appropriate to address them in person and take live Q&A from your constituents. And please forgive me for not having on my camera. I wasn't expecting to be raised this evening, so I do apologize for that.
That's fine. Commissioner Smith, were you going to make a comment, or should we go to Commissioner Yates?
Go ahead, Yates, and then I'll go after that. I'll have the last word on it.
I was just going to say that in light of these developments and that there's a response that may revise your letter, I would like to renew my motion to table for another month and ask DC Water to join us at next month's meeting.
I ditto that at this point. I didn't know that there was a letter. I'm looking at my emails. I didn't receive anything. So can I amend my statement to say that I agree we should put this off until next month's meeting?
Yes, you can. And I think what you said was that it went directly to Commissioner Cohen, so it's not in your email yet, but she's going to circulate it.
Yes, ma'am. And if there are, in the interim, we want to ensure we are addressing each one of the questions. So if there's additional information or redacted, comments from your constituents, particular addresses, all of those details are very helpful, for us to make sure we're presenting the information in a manner that's, most effective to addressing the concerns. So again, I'll forward that letter, which included, each of the detailed responses to the questions that were posed in the letter. Additionally, we addressed the questions about street paving and restoration in that time frame. So again, I certainly echo your passion about making sure we're getting this correct, because it is certainly a shared goal, and we want to ensure our customers and your constituents feel like they have the best information to proceed with this program.
Okay,
I'm comfortable in that case. If we can have them return next month, then I'm comfortable tabling it to next month.
Okay. Well, let me hear. Commissioner Gilligan has his hands raised before we move on, so let me hear from him.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm just happy that we're going to get information on this one way or another. That's the whole point of all of this procedure. So so I'm just happy either way. Thanks.
And I do want to make one more comment, Ms. Williams. Thank you for attending, and I'm looking forward to reading your letter. But I think there's a pretty clear distinction between what we've gotten so far in terms of outreach and communication versus what the issues are that are coming up with constituents. And so hopefully the conversation can speak to those specific issues around, again, like really this restoration in kind challenge, as opposed to sort of general DC Water lead service line replacement. This is, the information to this point has been pretty general and not really focused on some of the challenges that our constituents have seen.
Absolutely. And I don't want to appear as though I am naive to those challenges or concerns, or that we certainly have, some work on our part to do to make sure we can catch up And so I don't want to, try to present some illusion that we're unaware. We certainly have had a change in our management of the program, and that should not have delayed some of the restoration, but we are working very aggressively to make sure we can catch up and proceed as quickly. This is a large and a major initiative that's important, and we're just ramping up as fast as we can. And as you all can imagine, sometimes in the first years of projects, there's some obstacles and challenges, but I think with your help and support, we can address those constituent, restoration challenges. And we are working diligently to make sure we can catch up on the work that hasn't been done. So I don't, again, want to appear as though I am saying we're getting it all right. We certainly have some opportunities for improvement, especially in the restoration area.
Cool. In that case, I second Commissioner Yates's motion to table until next month.
And we appreciate that. Thank you all for that, the patience and diligence for us. It is, I'm equally as passionate as Mr. Swartz. He's my friend in kind on this program. And I know, the major point for us is that we're trying to educate, as you said, Commissioner Cohen. So there's that part. And then there's once we actually get the lead replaced and that part. So, part A, I feel like we're continuing to do that outreach, but part B, we certainly have some room to grow and improve when it comes to the restoration work. So thank you so much for the opportunity and patience. And we appreciate you sharing those remarks with your constituents. And I'll put my contact information in the chat too, so you'll have it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So now there has been a motion and a second. There has to be a vote. So all in favor of tabling the letter, please raise your hand. All right, that's everyone. All right. With that, we have concluded tonight's business. I thank everyone for their participation, and we can adjourn this meeting. Good night, all.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, everybody.